Welcome to the Go Beyond Disruption podcast, brought to you by the Association of International Certified Professional Accountants. Exclusive weekly conversations about how emerging tech is changing accounting, business, and finance. Now more than ever, we all must think differently about what we do and how we do it. Being bolder, breaking convention, going beyond the old comfort zones. It's Women's History Month, so all March, we'll hear exclusively from female guest experts who've done just that. Women from around the world who are impressively ahead of the curve, leading innovation in everything from blockchain to robotic process automation, artificial intelligence to human intelligence, and data analytics to cybersecurity. Subscribe to this podcast for free, and together, we'll go beyond disruption. Welcome to this special edition of the Go Beyond Disruption podcast. This month, we speak to amazing women in the tech space. Today, we have Daisy Ozim. So Daisy is this impressive, prolific CEO of Resilient Wellness, a public health technology company designed to address intergenerational trauma as a causative factor for poor health. She's based in San Francisco and has spent the majority of her life between California and Lagos, Nigeria. A lot of her past work has had a social justice component centered in eliminating the barriers to access and understanding of technology for marginalized communities. Daisy, I want to say thank you so much for being here with us today. How are you?
I'm great. How are you, Mballa?
I'm doing well. I'm just really excited to kind of dive in and learn about everything that you do.
Awesome. Yeah, let's get started.
So I read a lot about your work in healthcare and also about Blockchain for Social Justice Collective. Could you bridge the gap for us? Can you talk about those things, individually, but then also how all of these things are related for you?
Yeah, so Resilient Wellness, I started that around 6 years ago, and it was after working in the public healthcare field for many years and just being disillusioned by the lack of innovation and the lack of sense of urgency around health disparities in marginalized communities. And then I got introduced to blockchain technology because I was heavily involved in social entrepreneurship. And I learned about blockchain and Bitcoin in 2014. I was like, oh, this is going to be awesome. So that's when I started actually designing our own platform for Resilient Wellness. But then realized, if I want my community to be able to use this technology, we have to teach them what it is from start to finish. So that's when I started the Blockchain for Social Justice Collaborative in order to get my community involved in this technology as developers, as innovators creating their own platforms, and also as folks who are able to invest in the space as well. So that's when I started the b4sj.com, and it's been going ever since then.
Like I said, you talked a lot about knocking down barriers to understanding technology. And it sounds like a really, really lofty goal when you think about, what the existing barriers are. So if you can kind of talk about what those are, and then what specific methods are you using to knock those down, and what progress you've seen on that front?
Yeah, well, the specific barriers right now within the blockchain ecosystem is just the overall lack of diversity within the space. And then two, there's a huge disconnect between the individuals who are developing these platforms for quote unquote social impact and the future of money and financial revolution, and those who are actually most impacted by, financial exclusion, economic disenfranchisement, etc. And then I think lastly, there maybe is a little bit too much idealism in terms of how this technology can also function as a hindrance to a financial revolution that they want to have. And they want everything to be, on the blockchain and everything to be crypto. And that's also dangerous. So those are the three main issues that I see within the space. So what we've been doing to try to combat that is one, having the educational seminars, kind of promoting different type of meetups and conferences and things like that, where we can actually reach these individuals who have the power to build out these platforms in the first place. So we're not just talking to each other about it. And then also making sure that those individuals from these communities that have been impacted negatively by technology are, acting as advisors and board of directors and creators for different blockchain platforms. So that's what we can do for now. But of course, it's going to be a big push. So we need individuals who are in those different positions of power in the blockchain space to really bring us in to discuss how we can change things before it gets too, I would say, solidified, because the blockchain space is fairly new. So there's a lot of room for change.
Mm-hmm. So what kind of progress do you feel you've made on this front? And how are you able to recognize it when you see the progress?
The progress we've been able to make is, of course, letting folks know, raising awareness in like our community about this technology. The fact that we have folks who probably don't even have a smartphone getting interested in cryptocurrency, setting up a wallet. That's great. That's how we know we're making progress. Another is we had an incubator. We have an incubator program where we bring in organizations and groups and we teach them how to start their own blockchain project. And we've had some really powerful projects come out of that incubator. That's how we know that we're making direct change. And then 3, we've been able to actually like influence, some of these blockchain companies who have quote unquote social impact arm or diversity and inclusion and get them to really see like, hey, this is actually how you can really do it right this time, because diversity and inclusion in tech is very watered down.
Right. So as much as, we want to talk about all the work that you're doing, it's really important for us to highlight the person as well, because that plays a major role in the decisions you've made to get to this point. So can you tell us about you and how your background has influenced your decision to explore blockchain technology and how it can help you achieve these goals?
Yeah, definitely. Well, I am from the Bay Area, but I also went to high school in Nigeria. So I got to see, extreme poverty like firsthand, which made me really like focused, and have a really good work ethic when I came back to America. Because I realized like, I have to get things on my own. Hard work is a value to me, but also I've had a lot of care for those who are experiencing disenfranchisement, because it's a direct impact on their ability to be able to perform in society, be innovative, be creative, manifest their dreams and goals. And everybody should have that opportunity. So when I did come to America, though, I did find myself in a situation where I was homeless when I was like 18, 19 years old in San Francisco. And I worked graveyard at like a retail store downtown San Francisco, right? I worked graveyard. So I would work from 9 p.m. to 5 a.m., sleep on the couch for a couple hours, and then go to school. I went to school at San Francisco State University, and I took classes back to back. So I'd be at school from 9 to 4 o'clock p.m. I'd sleep again, go to the gym, take a shower, whatnot, and then go back to work till I was able to become self-sufficient. So that also really made me a little bit more aware of what are the different barriers within these various systems that, are designed to actually keep people down and oppressed. So after that, literally like a year after working graveyard and not having housing, I got to start working with the city of San Francisco doing policy work, developing policies and programs, shifting funds, advising budgets, being an oversight for local government departments. And I was doing a lot of healthcare work in that space. And that's when I became aware of, wow, there's actually people who, they want the problem to keep on happening because their salary is dependent on it, right? And then also just realizing the deep levels of nepotism that were also involved in that space regarding money for funding programs that could help our community. After going through all of that and just realizing like, wow, we're going to need a lot more help. And we're going to have to be a lot more innovative if we really want to address these problems, because, common sense will only tell you that these problems are only going to get worse, right? It's not going to get better just because we had a president that was a man of color. It was not going to get better. Now we have this other president trying to show us their plan for the future. We have to be innovative. We have to be strategic, and we have to have a sense of urgency. So that's when I started my organization, Resilient Wellness. And I've just been going ever since. And it's funny because the individuals that I worked with before, when I was coming to the table, working for the city and county, now I'm coming with my own organization, getting to be like the co-lead and chair for different committees and different statewide projects, and developing legislation and advising budgets and things like that. And it's the same work that I was doing, but in a different capacity. Now I have much more freedom. So I also realized that, hey, you know what? I'm gonna have my own organization, but I don't want to do the whole grant rat race and be beholden to them. So I need to learn how to be self-sufficient. So then I started engaging in social entrepreneurship. So with the social entrepreneurship piece, I started learning, hey, I can have a nonprofit, but I can also generate revenue with my org. And that's how I came into the blockchain space. Because I learned about, I learned about Bitcoin and cryptocurrency in 2014. And I was like, oh, this is going to shift a whole bunch of things. So then I got my wheels turning, like, wow, we can have our own currency. We can do things in a completely different way. We can give folks the ability to monetize their data, etc. And that's why I came into blockchain, because it's really like, how can we have like absolute total freedom and independence from this mainstream system that really does not seek to, actually repair the harm that was done, and really seek to have a system that works in an equitable fashion.
Right. Well, I mean, I think that in itself says a whole lot about you. You know, you yourself are, I'm guessing, not coming from generational wealth, and you've been able to really overcome these hurdles to build a platform with such a tremendous impact. I'm going to have you hold that thought. A note to our listeners, you are listening to the Go Beyond Disruption podcast. This month, we are speaking to trailblazing women in the tech space. And today we have Daisy Ozim with us, who has built a career around disrupting the lack of diversity in the blockchain space and using technology and other ways to support marginalized communities.
Are you ready for disruption? Join us in Chicago, Illinois, April 24th through 26th at the AICPA CFO Conference to find out. The CFO Conference keeps you at the cutting edge of the financial industry with 22 sessions developed for CFOs by CFOs, 33 subject matter experts, and 2 professional networking sessions. It's the one event of the year specifically designed to prepare you for disruption and provide you with the opportunities to advance your career and make your mark in the C-suite world. Get $75 off when you register before March 12th and use promo code CFO19 for an extra $75 off for a total savings of $150. But don't worry, if you're hearing this podcast after March 12th, you can still use promo code CFO19. And if you can't attend the CFO conference in person, you can still join us online so you don't miss out, with all of our exclusive sessions streamed live in real time straight to your computer or mobile device. You'll also have access to remote networking, chat rooms, handouts, and slides, just as if you were there with us on site. Register today at aicpastore.com/CFO, and we'll look forward to seeing you at the 2019 CFO Conference.
So back to these questions, lots of your work is in the realm of making a social impact with new technologies, specifically blockchain. So what do you have to say to other organizations who avoid this lane under the guise that social impact as a mission is not something that's profitable?
Well, I would say this. Social impact can be profitable, but the folks who should be profiting off social impact are the folks who are most impacted by the disenfranchisement. Because the problem that is happening now in the social impact space, we have folks who, they come from privilege, they come from wealth, they come from having good networks and being really well endowed with an extensive network of individuals who may be 1%ers, 5%ers, upper middle class, etc. And what they do is they come into these communities, they set up shop, they set up these organizations, and what they do is they end up making a whole bunch of money off these individuals. They call it poverty pimping, right? And the folks who are in those communities who are suffering, they don't get any piece of the pie. It's like they may get some services, but their power is not redistributed. Wealth is not redistributed. It's really kind of like the savior model, if you understand what I'm saying. It's like, oh, yeah, we're going to make a whole bunch of money, but you can't have any, haha, and that's very, very dangerous. So I encourage you, if you want to start any type of social impact, social enterprise, etc., you need to make sure that the individuals and the communities you want to serve are front and center in that whole entire design process, or else it's going to be very destructive. And then for those who want to get involved in blockchain, who may be coming from a social impact organization, you have to learn the difference between blockchain technology and cryptocurrency, because they are two completely different things. And I feel like a lot of the time people get the two confused and then they shy away from this technology. But this technology is actually going to touch every single sector that we can possibly think of. It already is. So it's not whether or not we want to engage with blockchain, it's when we're going to have to engage in blockchain. For instance, the 5 major banks, they're creating a collaborative blockchain, right? So if you have a bank account at 2 different banks, it's going to be on the blockchain, and they're going to be able to track your spending habits, predict your credit score, etc. Amazon, IBM, Microsoft, they're all creating their own blockchain protocols as well, because they know that this is going to be the future. So now we've gotten to a point where the big, they call it FAGMA, Facebook, Amazon, Google, Microsoft, Apple, they all work together in sync. But now they're getting into blockchain technology, right? So again, it's like this fear and this scarcity mentality around it is what is actually going to be our downfall, because what's going to happen is all these other institutions who have no business stepping their foot into social impact are going to be meddling in that and be the first to take the pie for our communities, collecting data, etc., doing what they want. I would also say in the blockchain space, the projects that are going to have the most use are going to be the social impact projects, because some of these other projects where you need third-party verification by like a local government institution or like another outside agency, an accreditation agency, etc., those are all going to be absorbed by the government. It's already happening. So where there's a lot of space is actually in the social impact.
Right. Well, that touched on my next question, which is being that you are within the blockchain space, the health and wellness space, where is the next place that technology leads us when it comes to healthcare and social justice?
Well, the next place where technology needs to lead us is in creating health equity by decentralizing accesses to services, to care, and also improving the social determinants of healthcare, which impact individuals' ability to live a healthy life. So folks just think, well, the reason why people are unhealthy is because they smoke cigarettes, they eat unhealthy, they don't want to exercise, they want to be unhealthy. That is a lie. There's something called the social determinants of health. So your economic stability, which we know is impacted by policy, the neighborhood and your built environment, which we also know is impacted by policy, your ability to have access to education, which we also know is influenced by policy and bias within the entire school system, and the social and community context, meaning how prevalent is poverty and generational trauma concentrated within this certain environment, because we already know that certain individuals live in certain communities because it's designed structurally to be that way. And then also access to health and healthcare, but which we also know is influenced by policy. So when we're talking about healthcare, we have to understand that it's not just, people, they don't want to take care of themselves. They call that lifestyle choice. And in the 80s, that was really big. Well, it's people's lifestyle choice. It's people's lifestyle choice. When they actually started to realize, no, it's actually the social determinants of health, which are influenced by policy. And that policy is influenced by bias on behalf of the policy maker. So that's where we're going in healthcare. It's something that we're working on now. It's like, how do we quantify in real time the impact of public policy on the health of these certain communities? Something I'm really passionate about. Do I think blockchain is going to be able to solve this problem completely? No, because you still have to deal with the federal government. But do I think it can help? Yes, it can.
What kind of advice do you have for other people in the blockchain space then who are making efforts to democratize new technologies?
Yeah, I will say that there's so many ways to get involved. I just actually did a whole presentation on this, about how can you get involved in the blockchain space without having to be a developer or a famous investor that has millions of tokens and dollars. It's not difficult. It's fairly simple, right? And because the blockchain space is really new, they need actually people from all different type of sectors heavily involved because it's industry specific. So let's say, for instance, I'm in the accounting industry and there's someone building a blockchain for accounting. Well, because I have that experience, I get pulled on as an advisor to the project where then I also get compensated for being an advisor. So these are some of the ways in which people can get involved and change the space. As an advisor, one I just mentioned, as an educator or influencer, which is what you're doing with this podcast right here. As a systems architect, meaning how do I design platforms specific to my industry? Having people who have been in those traditional industries and helping to advise other folks who want to build platforms in that industry on how to create and design their platforms so that it actually works. Marketing is a huge way to get involved in the legal aspect because now they have a whole bunch of securities laws becoming more important again. Also blockchain security, and then also as a developer. So those are the ways in which people can get involved.
Daisy, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us today. You definitely provided us with a wealth of knowledge and things to go look up and research. And to everybody who was listening, thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of the Go Beyond Disruption podcast. My name is Mballa Mendouga, and I was here speaking with Daisy Ozim. Thanks again. Thanks for listening to this special episode of Go Beyond Disruption, highlighting trailblazing women in the tech space and human intelligence. This podcast is brought to you by the Association of International Certified Professional Accountants. For more information about today's topic, search for us online with keywords Go Beyond Disruption. Feel free to share your thoughts with us on social media using the hashtags Human Intelligence, Go Beyond Disruption, or AICPA Women Lead.
This podcast is designed to provide illustrative information with respect to the subject matter covered and does not represent an official opinion or position of the Association of International Certified Professional Accountants or any of its subsidiaries or affiliates. It is provided with the understanding that the association, its affiliates, and subsidiaries are not engaged in rendering legal, accounting, or other professional services. If such advice or expert assistance is required, the services of a competent professional person should be sought. The association, its subsidiaries, and affiliates make no representations, warranties, or guarantees as to and assume no responsibility for the content or application of the material contained herein and expressly disclaim all liability for such damages arising out of the use of, reference to, or reliance on such material.